Hello, welcome back to Thorny Motorsport. My name is John Thorne, and this has been quite a while since our last video. I can blame it on COVID, I can blame it on lockdowns, but the bottom line is we've been too busy. Literally, we've been very busy in terms of works and cars, lead times are very long in terms of customers, and we're trying to resolve that with a few things that we're changing soon. But I thought I would share a milestone in a videos we've done here. A little while ago, I'll put a link somewhere, we did a process where 5 million miles of McLarens that we had worked on. So total all the cars together been here, they'd covered over 5 million miles of McLaren and say how great they were in that process. Now, there's a last video explains what goes wrong, issues that are there, but generally very positive in terms of a supercar to cover that many miles collectively. And so we thought we'd do another milestone video now, whereas we have now covered, a little while ago now, over 10 million miles. So that means we have serviced and worked on McLarens where their total mileage are now over 10 million miles combined. It's actually been more than that, it's actually 11,142,000 miles exactly by this morning, but we've been too busy and we forgot to do it. So, first bit of this video, well done McLaren. You know what, in tough examples and tough times and examples where people are very intolerant of cars that can last long distances and have a few issues, covering 10 million miles of cars that we have seen here, physically cars we've seen, is pretty damn good. So well done to McLaren for that. And well done to owners. A lot of the reasons why we think you can cover big miles on these cars on long distances is that people look after them. These are cars that if you treat them properly, look after them well, they will be near enough problem free. However, at the same time, if you don't treat them well, or you ignore them, or you don't repair them properly as you should do, they can be a financial nightmare, and those are the ones that sometimes we see as well, sadly. Now, in the 5 million mile video, I went through the things that went wrong, issues that are going through, etc. And in all honesty, those issues still stand. So we still have things like front main oil seals, rear main oil seals, etc. All standard sort of stuff, all the sort of stuff you expect a car with miles to cover. So what have we got now at 10 million miles? Okay, and so what is starting to go wrong with these cars over a long period of time? Now, as you'd imagine, for that kind of mileage of cars, we're looking more at the 12C and the 650s, as well as some 570s. 720s still, you know, they're not really covering that kind of miles yet. Although we did do a video earlier on about a 720 with over 44,000 miles now. And again, reasonably problem free. But at 10 million miles, what are we seeing and what kind of concerns have we got? Well, in addition to the little problems mining our place, there are a couple of things that we think we want to keep an eye on. One of them is accumulators. Now, accumulators are a good dealer way of earning money sometimes, but they are now starting to fail on the higher mileage cars and higher use cars. Now, there's a very easy test for accumulators. It's simply drive the car and change the settings on the suspension between sport and comfort and back again. You will feel how the car changes. If you don't, and it feels very stiff and still very sporty, even on its softest setting, there is a chance that the accumulators are on the way out and they need replacing. It's not a guarantee, but it's one thing to look at. The second thing to look at is if your car has lift, which pretty much the 650s, only a few 12Cs had it. When you put the car on lift and you suddenly get a flash up, a PCC fault in the dash, which goes away straight away, that is also a sign of accumulators starting to on the way out. It's not a long job, 2.5 to 3 hours to get done all four. If you change all four, you can change an axle, but what we have found with labour being reasonably high, you might as well change all four. But those are two things to look for. Is the handling not changing with the suspension settings, and have you got that PCC fault? Additional to that, things that come around, is TPMS sensors. Now, we loathe these little bastard things, we really do, mainly because their batteries all run out about 5-6 years. So it means we have to constantly replace these things. Now, I now have gone through, I don't know, probably half a dozen different aftermarket versions TPMS sensors. They are much cheaper than McLaren ones, very expensive, but we have not yet found a consistent third-party supplier TPMS sensor that will work with every car. Now, as a commercial operation, I don't have the luxury of saying to a customer, let's try these, doing all the labour swapping over again, then finding in 2 weeks' time he comes back saying, lights come on, it's very annoying. So we have to fit OEM ones because I know they will work. Now, we'll happily fit ones that are supplied by you guys, but if they don't work, it's not our fault. So it's one of those little things where we're still looking to try and find a third-party supplier that will work on all cars. Haven't found one yet, but it's a frustrating thing to have. Other things, worn bushes, various bits, they're quite common as well, fairly normal in terms of mileage, etc. But again, we have a slight issue in terms of the SIM, which is they call it an MPS, I think it is, McLaren. It's basically a control module that sits behind the dash. That can sometimes fail now as well. Electrical failure does happen sometimes. The faults to that will be your paddles not working, or for example, your horn stops working, or other areas on dash going wrong. It's normally a sim failure. It's not an expensive fix generally, and again, it's a fixable thing. A lot of conversation about paintwork. Yes, we are still seeing the newer cars still have the corrosion issue, or rather the bubbling issue. It's not corrosion as we've covered before. I'll put a video somewhere for that as well. It's still there. 720 still have it. We haven't seen it very often, and McLaren is still standing by their warranty. But now that 12C is against 10 years old, what will happen at that point in time? Don't know is the answer, and I don't think McLaren do either. So it's something to bear in mind, looking at cars, keeping an eye on your paintwork, get it inside the 5 years for the perforation warranty to make sure it's covered. I think there's a slight concern we think is almost resolvable is airbags. Again, it can come up with a fault from the sim, but early 12Cs were fitted with a sensor that fits underneath the seat, which is the occupancy sensor. These are now starting to fail, and the problem we have is they're no longer available. So the only way to fix said problem is to take those bolts out, fit with standard bolts, and replace this occupancy sensor with one that's built inside the seat itself. It's quite a lot of work, seat out, retrimming seats, various bits. We've done a few here. It is a ball ache job to do, but it does fix the problem. But because you can't get those sensors anymore, it is an issue you go on. Only really affects the first 1,000 cars as far as we can see in our examples, so it's not like a common thing, but it's something to consider. Final thing to look at is cam phasers or top engine work. Now we've done several videos about that, and back to another one in a minute, about cam phasers. It's a sort of thing where, are all the cars going to fail? No, not by a long chance. But it is one of those ones whereby if you look after your car, check its oil regularly, warm it up, cool it down, don't drive it hard when it's cold, etc. Don't rev it too hard when it's cold, you'll be fine. Don't do those things, then you do run the risk of having top engine damage, which is a wear and tear item. Now, fortunately, the repair is coming down in cost. We can now do a top end repair if it's just phased its own for about £5,500. But if you ignore it, it'll get more expensive. You're talking about cams, it gets very expensive, £12,000, £13,000, plus a complete engine rebuild, so it's a scale. So keep an eye on your car, watch the videos you do, and you go from there. But generally speaking, 10 million miles, that's pretty damn impressive, we think, for a supercar. We're delighted to be able to serve so many customers and so many owners here on that basis, so I thought it was worthwhile a separate video saying, well done McLaren, 10 million miles, we'll see you again when we're on 20 million. All right, thanks for watching, talk to you again soon. Cheers.